All right. Welcome back to the Go for CEO channel. This is John the Bomb. Building others means business. And you know what I'm doing. You know that I'm bringing another phenomenal CEO, founder, entrepreneur. I plucked her out of Clubhouse. We've been getting to know each other over the last couple months. And this lady is incredible. She's doing some big things in the sales space. And, selling is always a weird kind of thing. People do like to talk about it. Others don't like to talk about it. But she's created a system and a business that's called Soft Sell Coaching. And super excited to have Jen Hapern on, Miss CEO Extraordinaire. How are you? Thank you for coming on the Go for CEO channel.
I'm fantastic and amazing, and I'm so excited to be here. How about you?
I'm excited. Been looking forward to this. I know that we kind of played calendar hockey and going that puck back and forth, but we finally nailed it today. So thank you for being on. So look, a lot of times our interviewees, we'd like to have them start with sharing with the audience, how did you get started with this idea, especially soft sell? That doesn't even, that's like, all right, soft sell coaching. Okay, interesting. So how did you come up with the idea? What was a little bit of your background? Maybe were you a corporate person, this and that? So get us up to speed and then we'll take it away from there. So take it away.
Love it. So in no particular order, I'll address some of the points that you just shared. So high level, my background is in corporate America. I started in software sales back in 1999 and spent 21 years in the corporate world, first as an individual contributor, and then moved into sales management and then VP of sales. And as a VP of sales for a SaaS software company, that's when I stepped out of corporate America. And it was a joint decision between me and the then CEO that I was not a fit. And that's a whole different story of why. I love to coach my people. And I believe that in order for us to experience financial growth and meet the goals, we got to level up. I got to level myself up in order to have credibility to level you, my team, up. And if there's a disconnect in the leadership in terms of that philosophy, it's not a fit. So stepped out and decided I'm really enjoying coaching and good feedback from my teams. Let's see what I can do. So I reached out to some former employees and former bosses and slowly, steadily started earning a few clients. Where does the name Soft Sell Coaching come from? Because it's not about the selling for me. And this was a really long, hard process, many painful lessons. It's about, this is what my business coach says, so I'll give attribution to him, but it's don't sell it, solve it. So what does that mean? I'll say it again, don't sell it, solve it. It's about asking questions, period, end of story. 2 ears, 1 mouth, using them wisely to help figure out what is the root cause and what is the desired outcome. So what do I do at Soft Sell Coaching? I'm very laser focused on the sales organizations in small business, even more specifically, sales managers. I teach, coach sales managers on how to lead and manage salespeople such that they hit their quota growth goals, they exceed their goals, they ultimately lead to financial growth. I'll pause there.
Well, hey, you said a lot there. So really cool stuff, and obviously that background that you had and the success of each layer of corporate America that you were able to climb is pretty darn impressive. So, a lot of people, when they're going for CEO, right, trying to become the CEO of their life in different ways, are a little bit timid on well, what's my exact skill? How do I know that this is specifically what I need to be doing in my business? So walk us through, it was a combination of your CEO and yourself coming to an agreement, you said, but what were some things that you kind of started putting as like, all right, these are the mile markers, the things that I know that I could bring to someone else. And how did you then, share or, market that to your potential clients?
In 22 years, so stay with me, John, I'll connect the dots. In 22 years in corporate America, I've had 18 managers, bosses, or leaders. There was one company where I was there for 13 years, and just in 1 year, 4 quarters, I had 6 sales bosses, sales managers. So I got to experience a variety of sales leadership, predominantly fair to Midland to not good. So 3 in particular leaders were good to great to exceptional, depending on the thing. And I began to kind of step back, and I'll give you some examples. Like, I had one sales manager who used to coach our team and say, listen, Jen, for example, you're going out to meet this client. It's a really big prospect, a lot of leadership eyes on it. Don't screw it up. So a different way he could have said that may have been, listen, this is a really big prospect. A lot of leadership is aware of it. We're all here to support you. You're prepared. What do you need from me to make this a stellar meeting? What's your desired outcome, right? Same kind of thing, but a completely different approach on the delivery of the message and the content of the message. One lands and one creates nerves and anxiety. So that's what I got a lot of. I had another boss as I became a sales director on his leadership team, who would pull me aside after our leadership meetings and say, you need to stop being a bulldozer. And I was like, okay, that's interesting feedback. Can you give me a specific example? I didn't like the way you said blah, blah, blah. So I got to learn how much of this is me, how much of this is the person who's saying it, that's their experience of me. So that lends itself to communication. How are we communicating? What's an effective way to communicate? How do we communicate effectively without aligning? How do we align on the thing without conversation, right? And how does conversation happen? It's not, John, I'm going to give you these instructions and it's A, B, C, and maybe a G, and then a D, but then back to A. Maybe there's a time and place for instruction, but it's asking you, it's getting your feedback. It's asking versus telling, which is a dialogue. I could go on and on about this. So you can stop me anytime. It's a dialogue versus a survey or a questionnaire. So communication. I forgot your question. I've had a lot of coffee.
I love it. Well, you're in your mode. You're in your mode. I love it. I love it. Soft sell coaching, right?
Okay.
Look,
yes.
I can't take away the coach from you. I mean, it's part of the interview process. So yeah. So no, but what I was getting at is more, as you were building your clientele, right? There's a business inside of that. And now if you're losing a corporate job and a payment, right? An actual paycheck, how are you starting to develop that mentality? Like, how much am I charging? Who are my clientels? Those type of things. So let's go that route, because I think a lot of people could really learn from, you shared a very big aha moment from learning from the leaders that you had. And now that you were going out on your own, how does that translate to a business, right? And becoming soft sell coaching.
So the first thing that comes to my mind is clarity. What is the message of who I am and how do I want to impact you, my prospective clients? And so what is my message? And I've swizzled and switched and played and got counsel and all the things. Where I've landed is that I'm a masterful sales tactician with a mindset to win. So I come in and I work with the sales management or sales leaders in the small companies. And over the years, I've acquired different tips and tricks and skills and processes and procedures that work for me, that are easy to digest, easy to share, easy to coach people if they have the right mindset, the mindset to learn and grow. So that's sort of my value proposition. You asked about pricing and rates and things like that. I mean, talk to people. That's what I did, is I did my research and I talked with people. And I love it when people say, well, yeah, you got your own gig now, you got to go network. So there is something to that. But then what does network mean? Who do I want to network with? Who do I want to ask those questions of? What kind of network group is there? Where can I level up? Where can I make an impact? Where can they impact me? And those are the people that I'm choosing to surround myself with and ask what lands. And I'll tell you something else real quick. When I no longer get pushback from a prospective client about pricing, I raise my rates. Straight up, right? And There it is.
I
I'll
love it.
pause
I
there.
love it. Oh, well, that's a really cool, suggestion there, because a lot of times, yeah, when it's like, yeah, sign me up. You're like, oh man, I didn't charge enough.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
And then it's, oh,
interesting.
I should have, but also, yeah, I go back to the clarity of asking the question. Like if you were to say to me, Jen, why should I, here's an example. Prospective client has got 3 or 4 sales managers, and they're all over the place, and they're not communicating, and their numbers, they don't have good visibility and a way to really track what's happening in the business. It's just it's a business owner who's grown by hook and by crook, right? And he's managing and leading these 3 or 4 sales managers. Well, that CEO self-admittedly has got no idea how to manage salespeople. So I would come in and understand first, why do you want to hire a me? And do I have your permission to ask more questions such that we determine that we are a match, or we determine we're not a match? What is your desired outcome from this conversation? When you say your sales managers need help, tell me more about that, right? And then I want to meet with the sales managers themselves and understand, if y'all 3 or 4 sales managers sat down together in a room right now, and I said, what are your top 3 sales functions as a sales manager? How much overlap do you think there would be? How much not overlap would there be? And that's a good place to start. So it's a combination of, let's implement some sales best practices, and let's affect your mindset, driven to have a positive mindset. So did I answer your question?
Yeah, I love it, because Gopher CO is driven by mindset.
Amazing.
That's pretty cool, right? So
That
neat.
is.
Well, let's get into different areas of your business, right? Because that's what we typically teach on Gopher CO is, you made this determination, you and your ex-boss, right, the CEO of the company, you guys kind of part ways, you move on, you know that you have this talent, and you start getting out to the marketplace. What are some marketing strategies for a kind of solopreneur getting into business? Some things that you've done and you're currently doing to grow your business?
So marketing is what comes to mind, and marketing has many different meanings to different people. For me, it's getting as much face time as possible with individuals and with groups. And that's in person, and that's over Zoom. That's all the things. I have a particular goal, and you'd mentioned earlier, like how, managing time and logistics. I'm very disciplined with my calendar because I have to be. Otherwise, I'm all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So I make a point to attend every marketing or networking thing that I've committed to for 1 full year. So I block my calendar out in advance, and I'm committed to that, whether it's 1 4-hour meeting a month or 2 4-hour meetings a month, different networking groups. I volunteer to speak at every opportunity, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce or in my personal development things. I volunteer to give to you, because that has a ripple effect. It impacts you, John, it impacts your businesses. And the long game is then it will impact me. So that's part of the mindset. It's, you got to stepping up and stepping out of comfort zone. That's where the growth is. So networking, but with clarity of what is the purpose and what is the desired outcome of the networking. I don't like networking groups where it's like, hey, give me a lead, I'll give you a lead, and let's lead exchange. Maybe that solves a thing in that moment. Maybe it doesn't. No, I'm looking for professional development individuals with like mindsets, so that we're in it for the long game, and we're accountability partners by choice, and we follow through. So networking, but with clarity of what is the goal, what is the purpose, what's the desired outcome. That's really it, because I'm a solopreneur. I never thought I would be in this position, because for 22 years I was in corporate America and did the thing and showed up and followed the rules. And in my last role, I was like, this just is not working. My first reaction was, what do I do now? And then I learned to say, what do I get to do now? And what do I want to do now? Mm-hmm. And those are very different. I'll pause there. Yeah.
No, I love it. And look, a lot of what you're sharing is that battle of growing your mindset as a solopreneur, right? Eventually, obviously, the business of a solopreneur matures into a business owner, which is obviously then now having either from VAs, right, virtual assistants, to internal employees, to engaging with your vendors, all that type of stuff. And so it's really interesting. So what are some of the tools? I don't think I've actually asked this to anybody, especially in your role. What are some of the tools that you're using? Because I think there's a lot of coaches out there and a lot of people with this great resignation going on in 2020, 21, 22, maybe thinking like, hey, I've been a high corporate America executive. I should be a coach. I see Joe Smith as a coach or Sally Sue as a coach. Like I should be a coach. So what are some tools that you're using that allow you to kind of sharpen your saw on a daily basis?
Ooh, that's such a great question. Um, it's a combination of a discovery date. So that's like a day. I like to ask for 1 to 2 hours of your time so we can sit down and focus. And that's the assessment. What does an assessment mean? I want to really drill down with your permission to have a legitimate, intense conversation. And some people will say at 1 to 2 hours of my time, I'm telling you, I've got a sales problem and this and that. That may not be a fit for us. So it's about, yeah. So the first phase, if you will, or first step one is a discovery date. I say date because it's not a day but it's a 1 to 2 hour conversation. And then we go from there. And what does that mean? Based on that conversation and information, we discover that we're going to work together or not. Let's assume we want to work together. I want permission to talk to all the relevant parties and interview them. That's step 2, phase 2. Step 3 from there is the plan. Once I've gathered enough data points of what's the current situation of the business, what's the desired goal of the business, and getting insight into the players as individuals, because it's a mindset to win. And I'm looking for very particular things. So that's step 3. And step 4 is the plan. I put together your plan. We circle back for a 1 to 2 hour session. We agree on that plan. And then we talk about what execution looks like. When I have a successful client, John, the engagement could be 9 to 12 months. And once we've made the right changes and implemented right process, mindset, activities, actions, behaviors, role plays, I then can go hire the right sales leader for you, or we part ways because the engagement is successful and over, and we have a commitment to do a check-in quarterly for just an hour sounding board so that I'm here for them. They're not paying me for that anymore, and that's okay. It's meaningful to continue to get an outside perspective of how are the processes going that we've implemented and what are the challenges that you're experiencing, and let me be your therapist. I put on my therapy hat, my coach hat, or whatever the things. So I view it as a 4-step process. I'll pause there. Did that make sense?
No, I love it. I mean, it's very, very systematic, right? In fact, that hour afterwards now of the quarterly check-in is what most people would call in traditional business R&D, right? Research and development. And really that's your investment to them, and vice versa to you. And that feedback is priceless. So really, really cool stuff. So, look, it's really interesting to talk to someone that really kind of launched themselves out of corporate America, create this business, this solopreneur enterprise, and growing. We've talked a little bit about marketing. We've talked about that mindset. We've talked even about some pricing levels and things that you start to level up and see how much it's worth for your time, how much it's worth in the value of the marketplace, all those types of things. So what are some things that really, I guess, you've learned that make you feel like, wow, okay, now that I've learned this, it's something that is not going to be a hindrance in my business?
So what just came to mind for me was emotional intelligence. And that may be because of our conversation last night in Clubhouse and Coach Ron's room. And such good, juicy sharing and learnings. I believe in being positive and flexible through change, and that takes time and consistent effort. And I get to model that in my own house and model that for my clients. And that is not easy to do. So I'll give you an example, right? This morning, my daughter, she's 15 and she's responsible for stuff in the kitchen, and she's about to go out with her friends. And her responsibility today is to empty the dishwasher before she leaves the house. And so my immediate thing is I want to be like, don't leave the house until you've unloaded the dishwasher. But I stopped myself and I was like, baby girl, please remember to empty the dishwasher before you go, and then have a good time. So that's the mind shift. So my point there is it's just a constant being aware. I'll tell you this, because the brain, our mouths, we can speak using 150 words per minute, and our brains process like 650 words a minute. So that's a disconnect. So it's so easy. We always want to jump in and interrupt and take over and do the bottom line. And here, but wait, I want to tell you, John, you're telling me about where you went on vacation, but let me jump in and tell you where I went. And it's just constant awareness to be patient, and the power of the pause, and listen for intent. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. And those are what I'm constantly working on, like all the time. And I think that comes across with my clients, because their feedback is I'm able to engage with them pretty quickly because it's about them. It's not about me and how awesome all my stuff is. It's about you. Does that make sense?
I love it. I love it. It's really clear that not only do you have a process, but you really are intentional and thinking about it. And Go for CEO community, if it's a solopreneur business, if it's a scaled up business, if it's a business that you're about to buy, right, an acquisition type of opportunity, it's learning these things and understanding like what are areas that you can improve, what are things that you can kind of bring to the table, and what are your strengths to that you can complement that business. So awesome stuff. So Jen, one of the ways that we kind of start to end the interview is CEO, right? So client experience engagement with soft sell coaching, and then O for operational excellence. You like how I take it slowly on that?
Awesome. Yes, sir.
So, client experience, tell me from your perspective with soft sell coaching, like what is it that's the value proposition? If you take it to the highest level, what is it that people are experiencing when they become a client of soft sell coaching?
They get to level up themselves as a leader. That's the action. They get to level up as a leader, and the tangible result is financial growth. It's the two combined. And again, laser focused on the sales organization. I believe there's riches in the niches, and that's my expertise, is the sales organization. So that's, yeah. And I'll just throw my tagline in. It's a masterful sales tactician with a mindset to win. That's what they experience. Yes. Boom. Drop the mic. Thank you.
I keep on saying I got to get a roadcaster or something with some cool, audio drops in there. So
there you go.
all right. So the E in CEO is for engagement. And I used to say employee engagement, but actually I'm changing my mind behind it, because I really feel like no matter if you're a solopreneur or a big business and multiple employees, really it's about why are people doing business with you, right? Why are people engaged? Why did you get that client? How are you keeping clients? How are you keeping others that are vendors of yours, and where you get materials and tools and all these types of things? So what's probably a high level value proposition of why people engage with Jen Hapern?
I love it. And I encourage all of your viewers to ask their clients when they engage with them, why did they engage? And when they choose not to work with you, ask why as well, right? So Gallup does an annual poll that displays 50% of salespeople leave their managers. They don't leave the company, they leave their managers. Why do they leave their managers? A lack of engagement. What does a lack of engagement mean? That's going to depend on the culture and the individual. To me, engagement is a constant, consistent development of your people. And that's one of the processes that I teach is, what does it mean to coach your people? And it's funny, often a common answer when I ask a sales manager, whether they're new to sales management or they're tenured, it's, well, we'll break down the deal and we'll figure out, I'll say, oh, what did what was your introduction like? What did the client say? Okay, next time say this, and next time try that. That's not engaging your rep. That's telling them what you would say, as opposed to engaging the sales rep to think and come up with their own thing by saying, what do you think went well in that conversation? Where do you think you either won or lost the prospect? Tell me some nuances that you picked up on during that engagement. So my point is, engagement for me, client engagement is, I'm helping them level up by asking, not telling. But with a combination of, here's best practices, what does a coaching session look like for you, a sales manager, and your sales rep? And we'll put that into practice and we'll role play the hell out of it as well, because it's uncomfortable for people. Yeah, it's fascinating. I've got a client who's got 2 brand new sales managers. No training into sales management whatsoever. They were both stellar salespeople. Well, now, Mr. CEO, business owner, you've taken your 2 top sales reps who were crushing it, and you've put them into management with really unclear, lumpy expectations, no training and no resources. What is it that you're looking to accomplish here? Let's break that down and see, is this a fixable solution? Let's coach and train. And what does that mean? And let's go from there. So engagement, complete.
I love it. Yeah. And that particular scenario, it's interesting, right? They say like Michael Jordan, unfortunately, was never really a great coach, right? Because it's hard to transition that. And if they're not getting coached themselves, even though they were good at what they did, it's hard to transfer those same skills, right? So you have to transfer something, but really that's why you need soft sell coaching, right?
Yes.
So neat, awesome stuff. I love it. So the last one is operational excellence. So, as you've started your business, you've maintained it and you're growing your business, what are some attributes and value proposition that you could say like, hey, this is what Go for CEO community, you should really learn about from a solopreneur scenario of the operations and what I'm doing to keep myself lined up and the tools that I use and those types of things.
Okay, so 3 things come to mind. So the first is discipline, and which I'm terrible at. So I have to be hyper focused on discipline, which means I honor my calendar and I stick to it and I reward myself. Discipline. It's so easy to not get out of bed and to not go to that networking event and to be like, oh, I'm going to make a few calls and here and there. No, discipline. And then I reward myself. Secondly is confidence. That's a whole nother conversation. How do we teach confidence? How do we get into confidence? For me, it's preparation and repetition. Prep, repeat, prep, repeat, prep, repeat. And then thirdly, systems. And what does systems mean? I have got a clear, defined process documented. I can clearly articulate, here's what I can bring you, but only after I understand what it is you're trying to achieve, right? What's your desired outcome? But having a process, whether that's a software application that does your assessment for you, or you bring in third parties, but have a process for what your offering is, clarity around your process, and make it consistent and repeatable. But so that's like the letter of the law. Then there's the spirit of the law. Sometimes they don't always go in order, but have that process from an operational excellence standpoint.
Boom. All right. Another drop bomb. So neat. You're taking away my moniker, Drop John the Bomb. It's going to be Jen the Bomb Hapern. So awesome stuff. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on the Go for CEO channel. I really appreciate to, share a different perspective, a different CEO, founder, entrepreneur like yourself. What are some ways that people can connect with you, can visit your website? Are you on Instagram? I know you're on Clubhouse, right? All these types of ways. What's the best ways to connect with soft sell coaching?
Amazing. Yes. My website is softsellcoaching.com. And my email is jen@softsellcoaching.com. my LinkedIn, Facebook, all the things. Yeah, absolutely. My cell phone is right there on the top. I'm a sounding board. Call me with questions. Let's have a conversation. I'm
I
complete.
love it. I love it. Well, hey, thank you so much again for stopping by. And, over the next 6 to 12 months, we'd love to have you back on, understand how you're growing, what those next 6 months look like. Because ultimately, what we'd like to do on Go for CEO and a little bit different than other channels is bring you back on, keep on telling the story of soft sell coaching and Jen Halpern, and then hopefully build a tribe behind the people that are subscribed to our channel. And they're just waiting. They're like, man, when's Jen coming back on? We want to hear what's the update on that business. So
Love it.
awesome stuff. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks, John. I enjoyed it. Have a great one.
Take care.
Bye-bye.